Uh, so once again, I'm live. Coming tonight. I've been gone that week, but on now. Um, lot going on. Um, yeah, that's interesting. I need to look at that. Actually, thanks. Um, oh yeah, let's. I gotta tell him I'm live. But like I said, I've been away all weekend. There's a lot of things been going on. Um, yeah. But like I said, anyway, we got Judge Joe Bryan coming tonight. I guess he's running a little late. But I'm you know, paying attention to a lot of things. I see um Nikki Haley just won a primary tonight in DC. Kind of crazy. I just rode past that place this morning, but um very interesting. Um it's funny she won in DC, but I just when you look up at DC, DC only got 23,000 registered Republicans. So it's kind of like who really voted for Nikki Haley in that primary. Matter of fact, Donald Trump was here yesterday in Richmond, Virginia. I wasn't here, I was in Baltimore, but nevertheless, he was here in Richmond, Virginia. And said line outside and things like that. So a lot of things went down in this period of time. So I guess the circus is still going on, but you know, it what it is. Um, a lot of people not talking about it, but things won't be the same. So let's just report on some things right quick while I'm waiting on him. Um, cool. All right. So today there was a lot of things that went on. Nonprofit Every Cure. So this week, a lot of things went down. Like I said, we're getting into an AI world.
AI on our lives. And today we're spotlighting a new way AI could impact medicine. The White House is hoping to use artificial intelligence to match already approved drugs with untreated diseases. And the federal government is giving the nonprofit Every Cure nearly $50 million to develop the technology. EveryCure co-founder, Dr. David Feigenbaum, joins me now for more on this. Doctor, I know you're busy, so thank you for joining us. Talk to me about this program, because your pilot program has already identified some promising treatments for sickle cell disease, ALS, and more. So how does this technology work right now, and how are you trying to advance it?
Well, we're utilizing the world's biomedical knowledge to identify the most promising new uses for existing medicines. There's already 3,000 approved drugs, and there are thousands of diseases without any treatments. And so we leverage the world's knowledge to look for patterns so that we can connect existing drugs to diseases and patients that could potentially benefit.
So can you explain this like I'm five, but give me an example of how the AI is leading to you to say, oh, actually, we can use this existing medicine to treat this thing we weren't treating before? I know you're laughing, but you know, we don't understand how this works, and we're trying really hard, Doc.
Absolutely. I can share about a real example. So a patient was getting ready to go into hospice care. No treatments were working for him. And we utilized the world's knowledge. So we looked for patterns across everything that's been researched and developed by the medical community, looked for patterns across the world's knowledge. And this artificial intelligence algorithm found a pattern for a drug called adalimumab that would suggest that it might be useful for this particular disease. And so based on this pattern that it found, that it looked like other drugs that have worked for diseases, we treated this patient with adalimumab, and it saved his life. And this is inspired in many ways by my own personal journey. I was a healthy medical student until I became critically ill with a disease, and I also repurposed a drug to save my life.
So how did you go from that, spending months in the hospital and deciding, you know, I'll take my treatment into my own hands? By the way, before this technology was anywhere where it is now, how did that lead you to what you're doing now?
So I'm alive because of one of these repurposed drugs, and I just celebrated 10 years of remission. And so over the course of the last 10 years, we've been working to identify more drugs for more patients, and working with my co-founder, Grant Mitchell, and Tracy Sikora, to understand ways that we could do this at scale. We've now unlocked 17 repurposed treatments for diseases that they were not intended for. And I'm so proud of this 17 that we've unlocked. But with the advent of artificial intelligence and the ability to find these patterns within the data that humans we can't do, we've decided that we want to scale our impact beyond the 17 repurposed treatments that have saved thousands of lives to a world where we're actually repurposing thousands of drugs to save millions of lives.
So glad, first of all, to see you doing well, but also to see you turning that into something that could have such an impact. So how do you see this use of AI impacting healthcare and medicine in general? Are there other ways that what you're doing could be used down the line?
Absolutely. So we are identifying patterns within the world's knowledge that lead us to think that one drug might be useful for one particular disease. But there are so many more opportunities to use the exact same sorts of algorithms, maybe to help to improve diagnosis of rare disease. Maybe it's to identify ways that we can manufacture these products more quickly. But the world we're in right now is so different from the world we were in even just a few years ago. We used artificial intelligence to identify the first treatment for a patient a few years ago. And the tools that we have now are so far advanced compared to even just then.
So, Dr. Feigenbaum, what excites you most about the role of AI in medicine, and what scares you most about it?
Well, what excites me the most is the idea that people can live lives when they would not have been able to otherwise. I'm not supposed to be here. The drug that saved my life wasn't made for my disease, but we discovered that it could be useful, and it has saved my life. And we've now done this for so many more patients. All I can think about are all the people out there that have a horrible disease, and there's a drug sitting on their pharmacy shelf that could help them, that we just need to unlock for them. So that's what gets me so excited, the lives that can be saved utilizing this technology. I think that many of us, share the fears of artificial intelligence, and how, maybe it can be utilized in ways that could be harmful. But the way that we're utilizing it is really about saving as many lives as possible.
All right, Dr. David Feigenbaum, it's so fascinating and so great to have you on to explain it. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that
it was chaos and panic on open.
All right, so let's bring this up. So basically, you got the federal government that's going to back a program called, it's a nonprofit call every cure. Yeah, Dawson, how you doing? Frank and Bishop. But look, here's the deal. AI medicine. Okay. Now, I mean, they kind of letting you know. We're in some transhumanism stuff right now, really bad, man. But now today, I'm gonna get to it in a minute. You know, Frank, I know you out there in California. The Golden State Warriors played today, and they played the Boston Celtics. And today is Bloody Sunday, remember. And of course, Golden State was down by 44 at one point. That number 44, pay attention. But it was like a massacre. In Georgia, they had shootings at Six Flags. It's almost like you can't leave your house without a shooting these days. That's how I'm looking at it.
Opening day at Six Flags over Georgia after officials say 500 to 600 people ran through the park fighting. This all led to an exchange of gunfire right outside of the property that sent at least one person to the hospital. Thanks so much for joining us on this very busy Saturday night. I'm Eric Perry. This all unfolding just after 6 this evening. Fox 5's Joy Dukes is live for us. Joy, all right, you've been working this scene. We see the crime tape and the roller coaster behind you. Walk us through what you're learning.
Yeah, Eric, good evening to you. Just absolute
I
chaos,
don't
as
know,
you
Frank.
mentioned there, erupted here near Six Flags earlier this evening, where GBI officials say they are investigating an officer-involved shooting that left one person with a gunshot wound. Now, this all started, as you mentioned earlier there, when Six Flags Park security say that they were met with an unruly crowd of about 500 or 600 people here inside the park that were running through the property and fighting. They contacted Cobb County officers for backup. While officers were trying to get that crowd of people off of the property, they say those individuals fired at officers, who then fired shots back, hitting one person. And that person was taken to the hospital for treatment. We're told no officers were injured, but a vehicle was damaged. Videos of the incident have been circulating online. They show a herd of park goers stampeding out of the park property, just trying to get to safety at the sound of those gunshots. Park officials said there were no shots fired on park property, and that the shooting itself took place on South Service Road, which is obviously just a few hundred feet from what you can see here, park property. But they say that the culprits seem to be underage kids. In a statement from a spokesperson, they say,
all right, man, hold it, man. You got 500, 600 people, and they say the culprits are underage kids. Was this some type of psyop? I'm just asking, because how did this happen? How did that happen? Like, they said they had a crowd of 500, 600 people, unruly people. So what the hell is going on in Six Flags over Georgia? And I've actually been there as a 13-year-old kid. We went on a bus trip. With a school. Yeah, I stayed there for 2 nights. It's right here on Fox 5 Atlanta, Frank. Look up Fox 5 Atlanta, you'll find it right there. Fox 5 Atlanta. Shooting, fights, absolute chaos at Six Flags over Georgia. Opening day 2024. However, this was not reported on mainstream news stations, which is actually very funny they didn't report this, which it should be reported. But I do believe it's some type of psyop, or it's organized chaos at best. Because I don't know no 600 kids fighting in no amusement. This is an amusement park, man. I can see an isolated incident. I can't see that many people fighting at one time without this being organized. I mean, it just don't make sense. I mean, but like I said, I have to do more digging to find out what set it off. But I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, I've been in Baltimore the weekend, and I'm back home now. But I mean, many people was down there for the weekend with all the events going on and things. I mean, unless I wasn't, everywhere. I can't be everywhere one time, but I mean, we didn't have any incidents there. So, I mean, I don't know. But we didn't have an instance there, so yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So it's very interesting. Yeah, good question. Where were the adults? That's the big question. I mean, I don't know, Dawson. I mean, I know you've probably been to an amusement park or something before with your son. You didn't have 500, 600 people fighting any time. So what the hell is going on out here? That's a good question. Who set it off?
Said, quote, our goal is to provide safe, fun entertainment. It is incredibly disappointing that our community is disrupted at public events throughout the region by groups of underage youth. Just like other venues in the area, we are committed to keeping this type of trouble outside our park and off of our property. Now, we spoke with a woman who lives nearby. Here's what she had to say about the ordeal.
Crazy that a group of kids could cause all this. It was a real big group of kids. I've never seen a group of kids like that if outside of a high school. Parents need to just control the kids better probably, or step in and make sure the kids is doing what they need to be doing.
Now, the GBI is handling the investigation. You can see the crime tape up here. They have South Service Road blocked off to traffic while they conduct their investigation. We have seen a number of GBI officials here with their flashlights walking around trying to collect any evidence they can here. You see the mobile crime scene unit is also out here this evening. Now, what is still unclear is whether there will be any arrests or whether any of those children will face charges. That's the latest here. We'll have more for you coming up tonight at 11.
Consider this your sign to stock up on signage. Because right now at Vistaprint, all signs are 20% off. So you can bring in business with.
Now to a breaking news update of violence.
I'm just covering all these events right now. A lot of stuff went down over the weekend. I told you this was Bloody Sunday weekend. I told you a lot of things are going down. All right. Now they say somebody got killed in the loop in Chicago. Then they had a graduation shooting. So it's a lot of things that went down at one time. And I just said when I get back home, I got to cover all this at one time. And we're going to cover it in segments here. Because the judge just texted me and said he's coming on in a few minutes. But I'm just pointing out some things that have been going on that the media isn't talking about. Now, I'm not sure. It could be an election year, possibly. But it is what it is. Yeah, Frank, who counting all these children? It's counting a lot of children, man. I ain't been to amusement park in years, so it is what it is. I used to go with my nephew a lot, but I mean, it is what it is. I really wouldn't want to be too much a fan of going to these places right now with all these psyops going on.
Violent night in the South Loop as two teenagers were shot, one of them fatally. A large group flooded the area near Roosevelt and Canal. CBS 2's Sharday Gray has the latest details from that chaotic scene.
A homicide investigation is now underway after police found two teens shot in this area. One of those teens died. A neighboring business says last night's shooting has left his employees shaken up.
Enough is enough. We need to do something about it, and somebody needs to do something about it fast.
Fed up of a reoccurring thing we've seen time and time again. Teen takeovers in the South Loop.
It looked like hundreds of teenagers.
Peter Letzos, White Palace Grill's director of operations, says they swiftly took action last night.
We have security guards here every night. We locked the doors for a couple hours and kept everybody out. There's only so much that we could do.
A heavy police presence seen around 8 last night near Roosevelt and Canal after a large group of young people gathered in the area.
From the video footage that I've seen, it looked like hundreds of teenagers or young adults were tearing up the streets.
Our cameras were rolling as hundreds of teens filtered the streets. Soon after, it turned violent. At one point, we saw 3 teens in handcuffs. Part of the group was gathered in the parking lot of BMO Harris Bank when at least one suspect fired shots. Police say a 17-year-old was shot in the chest and neck. He was transported to Stroger Hospital with gunshot wounds to the chest and neck and was pronounced dead. He's been identified as Jeremy Smith. A 15-year-old boy was also transported to Stroger and was listed in fair condition Saturday evening. He was shot in the leg. The shooting happened right across the street from White Palace Grill.
We worry about safety of the employees, number one, safety of our customers, and hopefully the safety of the people of Chicago.
Saturday's gathering was the first major large group incident in the downtown area since July 30th, when hundreds of young people gathered in the same area and looted stores. Mayor Brandon Johnson criticized a reporter for calling the incident as mob action.
We have to be very careful when we use language to describe certain behavior. There's history in this city. I mean, to refer to children as like baby Al Capones is not appropriate.
Detectives say they recovered a gun at the scene. It's unclear if anyone else was injured or if more suspects have been identified. Reporting in the South Loop, Sade Gray, CBS 2 News.
Sade, thanks. Now, we reached out to the mayor's office about the shooting. We have not yet heard back in this 5 o'clock hour.
Oh, hey, I was just going for a drive, which is wild because up until very recently, the thought of driving more than 5 minutes away would send a surge of adrenaline.
8 News starts now with breaking news.
After an emotional week in the courtroom and a guilty plea, new videos now emerging of the tragic day in June when shots rang outside of a graduation. You're watching 8 News at 6. I'm Deanna Albritton.
I'm Eric Phillips. We have team coverage tonight on these new videos. We'll start with 8 News reporter Sierra Krug, who was at the courthouse all week long. And Sierra, what did the judge have to say about this case?
Well, Eric, the judge admitted this was a, quote, factually complicated case. Before pleading guilty to first-degree murder, Pollard's legal team argued the shooting was in self-defense. The Commonwealth painted a picture of the victim, Sean Jackson, walking away from an altercation with Pollard, and then Pollard, unprompted, shooting directly at him from behind. Whereas according to Pollard's testimony, Jackson and his group, including a second victim, Renzo Smith, had threatened him, grabbed him, and began chasing him. He says only then did he fire the weapon.
They said they were going to kill me. I'll tell you. I'm sorry. You okay? I'm not going to kill me. Are they taking
Chilling moments after Amari Pollard fatally shot Huguenot High School.
All right, what's up, man?
Yeah, how you doing?
Good, well. How you doing, sir?
Oh man, it's judges in the house.
Hey,
I guess.
It's good to be back after all the censorship and blocking they were doing on me for months. It's good to have you back, you know.
Well, they've been doing that on everybody. This current administration is deep into fascism, so they got a weak point. So what they're trying to do is eliminate people's ability to respond or offer alternatives. So here's what it is. It's first time in American history, other than what happened in the 50s, early 60s, when it dealt with communism. Something most people not my age don't get is if you were in high school, let's say, and you got permit from your school to work part-time in a business like Sears Roebuck or something like that, or comparable now, Mickey D's or something like that, and you went in and filled out the application, you'd have a whole page that said, have you now or have you ever worked for, supported, given assistance to, contributed to, or advocated any of the et cetera, from any of the following organizations, and include in your answer any and all that may be similar. There were organizations loosely rumored to actually doing or just slightly touching on anything that had to do with communism. So you, even if you're 15, 16 years old getting a job, you had to fill this crap out. and attest that you had never given support to, never been involved with, never did any of this stuff with these organizations. They went after Angela Davis because when she was 17 and 18 years old, as a freshman in college, she belonged to an organization called the Che Lumumba Club, which was construed as being perhaps associated with the communist cause. So that gave Ronald Reagan an opportunity to pursue her, and also that was supposedly backing up his otherwise unfounded allegation that the University of California was infiltrated by all of these communist professors. So the LA Times had challenged him, and that wound to them with Evel Younger, the Attorney General of California, trying to set her up with that Kern County mess. There is a gentleman by the name of Louis Tackwood, Lieutenant Louis Tackwood of LAPD's SIS unit, who I knew, and a lot of us did. We thought he was just a brother back from the NOM who was he was a medic. And he treated some of the various associated, what shall we say, injuries or things that people happen bad to suffer, like an occasional unreported gunshot wound back then. And he turned out to be not an informant, but a command officer for their intelligence unit. And he details in his book, Glass House Tapes 1 and 2, how he was instructed to set up this Kern County thing and frame Angela Davis. He used LAPD's burglary squad to steal the guns that were used from her home. And he details a number of other things. It's interesting reading those things. So, yeah, see, this thing that we see now used to be the way they handled communism. It's like they even changed the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the et cetera, et cetera. It used to be, prior to 1949, one nation indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Then, to show that this country was distinguished from communist countries, it said one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. That was not added until about 1950. So they've changed things around and about. And now we've gotten back to that, to support this new cult and to understand what's really wrong with the country right now. It is not so much racism. Racism is only a smokescreen for what is the supreme effort of a new religion to get itself officially opposed as the official religion for the United States. Now, before I remark what it is, I should touch on Buddhism. Buddhism is an honorable and ancient religion, but it has no God. It's a system of philosophy. It's spiritual. There's another thing that is a physician of philosophy. It has no God, but to all intents and purposes, it's a religion. Think of it as a secular religious cult, and it's pursued with the same fervor as its adherents and its acolytes and zealous young converts by any means necessary. It has an interesting symbol. It's not the cross, it's not the crescent, it's not the six-pointed star, it's not the six-armed God that stands for Hinduism, it's not Buddha who stands for Buddhism, it's the rainbow flag, because what you're dealing with is the LGBTQIA cult, which is a coalition that its acolytes are trying to impose forcibly on the public. A lot of the bull that we deal with right now is because of that. I'm not down in gay folk, because not all gay folk are into this who know what's going on. That's like saying you supported Reverend Jim Jones drinking Kool-Aid at large outdoor church picnics in Guyana because you're a Christian, or you support Al Qaeda and ISIS because you are Islamic. That's not necessarily the case. So they've got an interesting coalition that together, lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transvestites, pedophiles, all kinds of things have come together to push their cause. And you can't put a nativity scene in a city hall or a courthouse, but you can put the rainbow flag in there. You can't teach Christianity in an elementary school, a public one, but you can teach rainbow.
Let me bring some up. Because I'm glad you started with all that, because I want to talk about today. I'm just coming back from out of town in Baltimore. You know, they had like a big conference. Now today, it's funny I came back today because they were commemorating what? Bloody Sunday, as you see right here. I'll go play about 4 minutes of it. You know, you got Kamala Harris out there speaking, you know, talking about Bloody Sunday, Civil Rights March. But there's a certain guy that was out there that's speaking on Bloody Sunday. Merrick Garland, the Department of Justice, the Attorney General of the United States was speaking. Now, how in the hell can you be serious about talking about Bloody Sunday? You got Merrick Garland speaking. This ought to be insult. This is crazy, man. Are you serious? You see how they punking people again, man? Man, they really punking people, man. I said, wait a minute now. I know you cannot be serious about Merrick Garland speaking that.
VP Harris, civic and civil rights leaders march in Selma.
Today,
Oh, bullshit. That's not, to even use those terms, march in Selma, from back in the early mid-60s is not the same thing. That's blasphemous. This is where everybody's welcome instead of them getting their heads beat by the state police. Dick Gregory cracked me up one time. He was present in that thing back in the 60s, and he was talking about the head of the highway patrol. He said they were off in a building trying to get away from him, and the guy rode his horse up inside the premises and put his boys in there, and he started hitting his own cops. Bam, bam. You damn fools, I told you to get these niggers when you could. So the press got here, and you didn't listen to me. And he started beating on his own men with a nightstick. Like, you damn fools, I told you. And see, that was the kind of atmosphere. It was nothing like you have right now, where you go in there and, you know, oh my God, we're celebrating this thing. Well, frankly, I never did buy into that peaceful nonviolence, what I call bullshit, where you're going to get out on your knees while some redneck's beating you across the head until some other rednecks feel guilty about it. If I got to play kamikaze, goddamn it, and they got to take me out when I was 16, 18, 20, 24 years old, you're going to have to take my ass out because I'm taking somebody with me. You know, we didn't play that. But anyway, it's nice that come Queen Law, Hyena Harris, Mrs. Imhoff, was involved. You know who I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, I know you're talking about. I want you to hear her speak, as a matter of fact.
Please do. I ate a snack earlier while I was doing some other stuff. I mean, my stomach is getting delicate. I'm getting to be an old man. It doesn't work like it used to. Really?
Hey, I ain't going the whole way. If I went the whole way, it'd be too long.
I can bear it. Let me hold my nose. Go right ahead.
I'll stop them. Look at everybody. I'll stop them. Look at all of them. I don't know what that is. Hold on, y'all. At least you got a skirt on today.
Let me ask you a question. Does bobblehead... Let me ask you a question.
Hold on.
Do you count bobblehead Sharpton is representing you? Do you count the person next to him, the hyena? Do you count Ben Crump as representing you?
No.
By the way, when you ever seen him put on a trial?
Hey, I don't know, man, but he leading the march. Somebody lied here.
What the hell is this about? This ain't crap. See, while this is going on, you know what else is happening that they don't even talk about now? This was when it was the early mid-60s. This march they're commemorating. And in 1964, it started off in Chicago, 65 spread to LA, and by then all around the country by 67. You know what it was? Burn, baby, burn. And I know from being an intern who studied 60,000 pages of the congressional record, that's what inspired folk to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964, 67, 68 voting rights and amendments to the other ones. That's what inspired Congress to pass it, not these folk down on their knees while the rest of us around the country saying, hey, don't get the wrong idea. That ain't the rest of us. That's these good church going Negroes down there who support this kind of thing. It ain't the rest of the black folk in America. Now, what's interesting that came out of this, when they got to Selma, they didn't show it in the South, but they showed it in the rest of the nation. And that was when they got across that bridge in Selma, they got to the housing projects at the foot of that bridge on the other side. The black folk were out there and they brought the police out and all the rest and helmets, and they started bringing out the fire hoses and the police dogs. Well, there was an interesting scene. They let go a police dog to charge into the crowd. The dog dashes into the crowd. There's a little disturbance going on, and then you see the dog spitting end over end over the heads of the crowd to crash down in a heap on the other side of the crowd toward the camera, and the dog was crawling away whining. 4 or 5 cops charged in, and they kind of disappeared in the crowd that overwhelmed them. Then they came running out holding their heads as somebody was beating on them with their own nightsticks. See, in other words, those street people that lived in the projects kicked some major ass, and they didn't want to hear that. See, they weren't into this civil rights, peaceful nonviolence. Not at all. And see, West Coast, East Coast, you know, you go into high schools, they weren't segregated in the East Coast and the West Coast, except maybe by economic geographics. And white kids go, hey, man, they kicked your ass, man. Some of you guys really got their ass whipped, man. What you feel, man? Don't you feel that, motherfucker? You keep talking this, I'm going to whip your ass right here. See, these kind of conversations were going on. So when that came out the following Monday, yeah, man, you see what's happening, what time it is when you get some real brothers involved in this thing. Now, okay, here we go. Let me shut up.
I got you.
What we listening to?
Let me make it. I'm about to hear.
Step further. Become the hopes and dreams of the slave realized. Ladies, gentlemen, and all those in between, I have the honor to introduce the first woman and the first Black woman to be the Vice President of the United States. Give it up for Kamala Harris.
Could you hold that point? Could you hold that point? Could you hold
I
that
knew you were
point?
gonna say hold it. Hold it. Hold it.
Look,
Yeah, go
look,
ahead.
I met a daddy. I never met a mama. A mama claimed to be Caucasian. Daddy claimed to be Caucasian. We met at the Governor General's table for Jamaica Man. The Prime Minister was sitting at the table. My fine ass ex-wife asked him what the hell he was. He was introduced to us as everybody's favorite Hindu professor. He said he was Caucasian. He was mixed between Irish and Hindu. And he had some conversation about his ancestors owning slaves and running some plantations in Jamaica. He said, I'm Caucasian. Now, how the hell does Camilla become black with a Caucasian mama and a Caucasian daddy?
Well, let her. Yeah, okay, yeah.
She's
well,
a fraud.
Well, wait a
Little
minute.
hyena
Wait a
grinning
minute.
Mrs. Imhoff.
No, wait a minute, Judge. I want to bring something up here. Very interesting. The other day, Kamala Harris said she's going to have 3 days of talking about voting action. One is in August. I think the other one is September 17th in the day. But she had this meeting in an Indian room. That woman,
Yeah, I know. What the hell is that? All through California, she was posing as Indian, Hindu. Like, what the hell is she doing? She dealt with Willie Brown. She dealt with Montel Williams. She dealt with this basketball player. She dealt with this chief assistant DA. And what the hell is she doing, baby? You give mama what she wants. We'll do page 27 in the Kama Sutra, and then we finish up with page 82. Yeah, we'll have good fun tonight, baby.
something is going on with these Indian women. I got to tell you. But hold on, let's play it. Let's play it.
Can we give it up for Azalee? Oh, indeed, our hopes and dreams are alive and well. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Please have a seat. I'll tell you, when I listen to Azalee, I know the future of our country is bright. So it is so good to be back in Selma, and I want to say on behalf of the second gentleman and me, it is a privilege to be with so many extraordinary leaders, members of Congress, members of our administration, dedicated activists, and dear friends. So before I begin today, I must address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. What we are seeing every day in Gaza is devastating. We have seen reports of families eating leaves or animal feed, women giving birth to malnourished babies with little or no medical care, and children dying from malnutrition and dehydration. As I have said many times, too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And just a few days ago, we saw hungry.
Judge, let me pause this for 1 second. Let me pause this for 1 second.
That is my violin I'm playing.
I'm not.
You know.
I'm not saying what she's saying true, but it's kind of crazy that she would bring this up as her opening topic. Just one out there.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, you dumb jackasses are the reason this shit is happening. You backed it up on the front end. Now, public opinion is going against you. You know what this is? In addition to her hyena grin, it makes her look just like a goddamn hyena. What the hell is a hyena? It's a damn scavenger that feeds off of some dead meat that's spoiled and gone rotten.
Something
else has done it.
And that's what she
Damn
doing.
it. The
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what you're doing.
Goddamn
Because I'm like,
opportunistic
I'm
hyena scavenger.
You're talking to us.
It makes me
You're talking
angry.
to us, and you bring it up Gaza first. Matter of fact, I'm not even sure you should have brought this up at all. But that's just me. But that already shows you this has got to be disingenuous. Just pay attention. Then you can talk about voting rights and all that. But pay attention.
3 desperate people approach aid trucks, simply trying to secure food for their families after weeks of nearly no aid reaching northern Gaza. And they were met with gunfire and chaos. Our hearts break for the victims of that horrific tragedy and for all the innocent people in Gaza who are suffering from what is clearly a humanitarian catastrophe. People in Gaza are starving. The conditions are inhumane. And our common humanity compels us to act. As President Joe Biden said on Friday, the United States is committed to urgently get more life-saving assistance.
Can you put a pause in it right there?
Palestinians in
Yeah, I got you.
All these aggravated, pissed off Palestinians, especially the ones in Gaza, Hamas, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, they are upset that these B-1B bombers have been hovering for hours over their areas and picking off selected targets with guided munitions. These B-1B bombers, bones as they're called, B-O-N-E, in the Air Force, are based in Texas. They're not that far from the southern border. They can't shoot them down. So how did they get them? Well, these dumb jackasses have taken away all security from the southern border. And for 3 years, 3.5 million people have come across that border, maybe more.
7 million.
Those are just the ones that are counted. So Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, all of these enemies, elements, commandos sponsored and trained by Iran, have been walking across the border, getting on buses and going where they need to go to set up suitcase bombs that don't carry homemade crap, but military grade munitions. They've been planting them in various and sundry skyscrapers, office buildings, parking lots, amusement parks, zoos, resort areas all around the country. And they have brought in RPGs because nobody's checking the baggage. You just put it in a bedroll, put 2 of them in there. A 500 kiloton thermonuclear warhead doesn't weigh but 40 some pounds. We'll carry a couple of men in briefcases or suitcases. Nobody pays the least bit of attention. All this stuff has been planted, so when they want to do another 911 and get vengeance, they don't have to hijack some airplanes going through our airport security. They don't have to parachute in the middle of the night doing halo, high altitude, low opening jumps. They don't need to come in clandestine helicopters launched from merchant ships that are cruising up to New Orleans. They don't have to get in rubber boats launched from submarines that are lurking off coast that have eluded the Navy's detection system since the Navy is overworked and tied up in the South China Sea. They can walk in with their military grade explosives, go any goddamn where they want, even get put up free of charge in a major hotel at U.S. government expense to get back and get vindicated in vengeance for this bullshit. We hear this where, oh my God, look, Why don't you say, look what we set up? All these innocent people getting slaughtered because our jackasses in charge didn't know what the hell they were doing and set this up. See, that's what's really being said. And don't you think these Hamas, ISIS, Al Qaeda, all the usual suspects and Iranian commandos are going to get back at the U.S. when we least expect it, and a whole lot of civilians are going to die, and they're going to make 911 look like it was a preliminary act, an initial skirmish.
Well, look, let me bring this up because I'm gonna use her as my segment because she's talking. I'm gonna use her as my segment to talk about two major issues going on because you brought up two issues. Because you got to remember one thing about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was supposed to be what? The border czar. But now she's also supposed to be in charge of gun czar. And gun
don't
policy.
even get me going.
Those two issues I'm gonna talk about. So let me let her talk. Because she can talk about
I'll shut up. I'll be quiet. I just wanted to make a comment on it before I forgot it.
Yesterday, the Department of Defense carried out its first airdrop of humanitarian assistance, and the United States will continue these airdrops. And we will work on a new route by sea to deliver aid. And the Israeli government must do more to significantly increase the flow of aid. No excuses. They must open new border crossings. They must not impose any unnecessary restrictions on the delivery of aid. They must ensure humanitarian personnel, sites, and convoys are not targeted. And they must work to restore basic services and promote order in Gaza so more food, water, and fuel can reach those in need. As I have said repeatedly since October 7, Israel has a right to defend itself. And President Joe Biden and I are unwavering in our commitment to Israel's security. Hamas cannot control Gaza. And the threat Hamas poses to the people of Israel must be eliminated. Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization that has vowed to repeat October 7th again and again until Israel is annihilated. Hamas has shown no regard for innocent life, including for the people of Gaza, who have suffered under its rule for almost 2 decades. And Hamas still holds dozens of hostages for nearly 150 days now. Innocent men and women, including American citizens, who were brutally taken from their homes and from a concert. I will repeat, the threat of Hamas poses to the people of Israel must be eliminated. And given the immense scale of suffering in Gaza, there must be an immediate ceasefire. For at least the next 6 weeks, which is what is currently on the table. This will get the hostages out and get a significant amount of aid in. This would allow us to build something more enduring, to ensure Israel is secure and to respect the right of the Palestinian people to dignity, freedom, and self-determination. Hamas claims it wants a ceasefire. Well, there is a deal on the table. And as we have said, Hamas needs to agree to that deal. Let's get a ceasefire. Let's reunite the hostages with their families. And let's provide immediate relief to the people of Gaza. I will now address the occasion for our gathering today on this hallowed ground on the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where 59 years ago, on a cold Sunday morning, 600 brave souls set out from Selma, hand in hand, shoulder
to shoulder. They marched for the freedoms that were theirs by birth and theirs by right. The freedom to vote, the freedom to live without fear of violence or intimidation, the freedom to be full and equal members of our nation. They marched peacefully. They knew violence against them was inevitable. They knew they would be surrounded by troopers with nightsticks. They knew they might be trampled by horses. Even so, they marched forward. But they were forced to retreat, and yet they would not be deterred, defeated, or denied. And they returned to this bridge while many were still bound in bandages because they knew what was on the other side. A promise of a future that was more equal, more just, and more free. And yes, they crossed this bridge. And in so doing, they also built a bridge. They brought together white Americans, Black Americans, all sorts of Americans, and ministers and rabbis and members of SCLC and SNCC and folks of all ages and backgrounds. And less than 6 months later, the Voting Rights Act of 1964 was signed into law. The story of Selma, a story of our nation. Freedom is fundamental to the promise of America. Freedom is not to be given. It is not to be bestowed.
All right, Judge, let's bring this up. Let me break down this myself. Don't even worry about it. I'm going to break this down because don't you think that it's mighty funny somebody who wasn't even really basically just came into the world at that time who really had nothing to do with this is leading this speech. What do you think about this, Judge? It's very interesting, don't you, man?
Bullshit.
She's making a big hullabaloo about nothing. Now, don't you think that the people there should be ashamed of this woman speaking in front of them? Like she got something to do with it?
I told you, I had a snack. I mean, I haven't eaten anything all day, and it's making me feel nauseated. Okay, it's like watching a hyena crunch on some rotten meat and chew up the bone.
Well, that's what she's doing.
You know, let me say something. This year this happened, I turned 18. Okay. 1964, Chicago happened. Burn, baby, burn. 65, Watts happened, and then it spread like contagion. Burn, baby, burn. We looked at that bullshit and we got embarrassed at those churchy Negroes getting their asses whipped. The brothers that were, I said, in the projects at the foot of that bridge said, hell no. And they blew up. They started whipping ass. That's what was cool. Now, hyena girl is coming here trying to chew up bones, claim to be black when she ain't even close to it. She is a Hindu, a Caucasian Hindu. They don't have to be white. They can even be dark, like Australian Aboriginals are classified as Caucasian, even though they're dark. What happens is, guess what she technically is? She is called an Indo-Aryan. This is the same Aryans that the Aryan nation, the Aryan Brotherhood, and the Nazis portrayed as blonde-haired, blue-eyed. There are Aryans, but they look just like Kamala Harris. The ignorant say, oh, she's black. Look at her. She's born in Jamaica. I know one woman who is a wife of a friend of mine. She's blonde-haired, blue-eyed. She is born of English aristocracy related to the royals. And they were born in Jamaica. One of them's red-haired, gray-eyed, and the other one's blonde-haired, blue-eyed. And they were born in Jamaica, and they are English aristocracy. Jamaica was part of the British Commonwealth. If you go to Jamaica, pay a visit to St. Elizabeth Parish, and you will see a lot of high, bright, and white folk, also a lot of Chinese, because they're part of the old British Empire. Yeah. And they all speak with patois. Hey man, what go be going on, man? Everything be all right, man. Howdy, man, you know. And it's interesting. So the ignorant say, well, her daddy was from Jamaica. That makes her black. There's a movie out now. It's pretty good when it gets into the essential elements, and it's not far from what they have at the Jamaica National Museum. It's called Marley, Bob Marley.
Yeah, Bob Marley movie.
You will notice all the white people that were running Jamaica 45 years ago, and they were born in Jamaica. You see, they're still that. I had a high-bright wife, and every time we'd visit Jamaica, several times as guests of the government, they would be vamped on her, wanting to see her ID, passport. Iman, give me, we want to see your passport. Like, that's my wife, man. And I'll never forget one time, two white-looking James Bond types, one of whom spoke patois, jumped out, flashed their credentials, barred us from going up to the airport, the gate. And we were being escorted by this 6'5" brother that looked like, God damn, man, he looked like he could get plenty ass. He was with the Maroons, who function as kind of not only commandos for their army, but kind of like Secret Service. He was our escort. He flashed his ID. They backed the hell up. You will not talk to them like that. They guest to the government, the prime minister, and the governor general. You will get out of the way. I said, oh, hell. And he explained, your wife's high bright, excuse me. And she looks like a fancy girl from St. Elizabeth province, and you can't leave Jamaica without special dispensation of the Jamaican government. You got to have a pass from the authorities. So it's not like these things don't happen, but all of the ignorant of black folk in America want to assume, if they're supporting this nonsense, that because you're from Jamaica, you got to be black. Okay, you don't have to. And you know, you said it, the Chinese. They got lots of Chinese from Hong Kong and Singapore that were part of the British Empire.
Matter of fact, they gentrifying Jamaica too in certain parts. A lot of people have not talked about that. So that's another issue. But
I don't know what they're going to do about Kingston, man. Kingston's rough. I remember one time I was there and they were taking me to a television station at like 5 a.m. We got escorted there by some trucks returning to the fortress there. They've got a fort there for their army. And these guys, there was 5 flatbeds, a whole platoon. And these guys, Kevlar battle helmets, Kevlar battle vests, Berettas strapped on their hips, loaded. You could see there were clips in there, M4s with the stuff, and smoke grenades or tear gas grenades, where they usually have frags. So they go out on patrol. Kingston was so rough. That's not a place I'd go vacation if I don't have connections. Go down to the southern, the western, and the eastern parts of Jamaica. You have a much better time. It'll be much safer.
But let me play this because I want to get things.
Let's hear the rest of this.
Didn't mention yesterday, because there were protesters in Times Square. They were clashing police yesterday. You had people were protesting for what she was talking about, but you also got a situation last week in the Bronx where a guy had 74 immigrants, and I think he was in the basement. They were in the basement in front of the store, charging $300. I think he was from Senegal, as a matter of fact. So they're not talking about this immigration issue. But let's let them.
By the way, what are they going to do if Hamas does not comply? What are they going to do if Israel doesn't comply? See, you know what's unsaid here? our CIA, NSA, they might kill people, but it's still against American law. Israel has written into its constitution that it's perfectly legal for Mossad to assassinate people, and they will be guaranteed asylum or protection by Israel if they do that. So a lot of the world's leaders are afraid of being literally assassinated by these professional assassins who are in Mossad. And that's part of the foreign policy legitimated under the Israeli articles.
U.S.
So
get
they
money from Israel
intimidate
every
people.
year, so they basically U.S. get money to Israel every year, so basically Israel tell them what to do. That's why they keep on.
Yeah.
That's why they argue over the money.
And see, also most of the combat pilots in the Israeli Air Force are also active duty pilots in the French, English, German, and American Air Forces, and they're on furlough. Like when they attacked that American surveillance ship, the Navy vessel, and sank it in 1967, there were 14 aircraft that were in that attack. At least 11 of them were piloted by furloughed American pilots, and technically they should have been prosecuted, put on a wall, and shot for treason. But that's what time it is. They bend the rules because Israel is a proxy for the U.S.
Well, here we go. Let me let you hear this. This happened yesterday.
March through parts of Manhattan today, but police say some of the demonstrators will call about a bomb threat. Fox 5 Stephanie Bertini joins us live right now in Times Square with details on this. Hi, Stephanie.
Arthur, the calls to police had them rushing here to West 42nd Street and 7th Avenue. Ultimately, the NYPD determined the explosive they were called about was not a threat, but this could have been a lot worse, and some of those demonstrators are now in jail.
Chaos in Times Square, protesters clashing with police. From above, you can see the sheer numbers, the crowd massive in this Citizen Ave video. And up close, you could hear the NYPD trying to control the crowd. Those in the crowd, according to the NYPD, pro-Palestinian protesters who, through their demonstration, police say, blocked cops from responding to a call at West 42nd Street and 7th Avenue about a potential explosive device.
Please keep moving. Please keep moving.
It seems some tried to encourage the others to keep it moving, but ultimately, police had to use restraints. Earlier in the day, the protest started in Washington Square Park. Demonstrators marched up 6th Avenue and ended up in Times Square. Their pro-Palestinian messaging had nothing to do with why police were called. The NYPD says a call about a grenade found inside an Uber vehicle just after 4 p.m. had police rushing to respond. But that response was delayed by the protesters blocking the police, according to the NYPD. Ultimately, investigators determined there was no threat.
In the United States, we have a right to protest, but when you start taking over the streets and start taking over the sidewalks, obstructing pedestrian traffic and vehicular traffic, it's no longer peaceful. And when you're stopping emergency vehicles, whether it's police or fire or EMS, you're risking other people's lives.
Police say several protesters were taken into custody. The NYPD Deputy Commissioner of Operations said on social media, "Happy Saturday to all except the people who thought it was a good idea to block an NYPD ESU vehicle on the way to a bomb threat call. They will be spending their Saturday where they belong, in jail."
What do you think about that, Judge? A lot of stuff
Let's
going
take
on
it.
in New York.
Yeah, let's take it in context for the tunnels that were discovered that had been supposedly secretly dug and lined and excavated and all this other stuff. See, you're getting out of hand. This administration is a bunch of jackasses. They don't have a coherent foreign policy because basically they aren't competent to do what they're supposed to be doing. It's almost embarrassing as to how many deficits you see in their foreign policy and the way they handle such matters. Now they have set up a thing over the last 5 years that has made it all right. 7 years, made it all right to do to hell with public order.
That's in
We'll do
Times,
what
and
we
that was in
want to
Times
do.
Square.
Yeah. Now, this is going to get a lot worse. This is in winter. It's cold and it's raining, and people are out there in mass. What do you think's going to happen when we have?
7 degrees today.
Yeah, but what do you
7
think's going? Yeah, but what do you? It's unseasonably warm. So what do you think's going to happen when it hits summer?
They're gonna be out there more. Oh, you out there? You good? Well, they can be out there more. Let's put it like that. I don't know what happened to Judge on that, but very interesting how that's going down. Frankie, yeah, you're right. It's probably the most likely side because it's like, I mean, it just don't make sense. You had all this stuff going in at one time. This all happened in one weekend, man. So what is this? I don't know what happened with him. Hear me, Judge?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me? I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I got knocked off.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me? I don't know. Might knock it off.
All new
I'll
GoDaddy
get
Arrow
off
helps
and
you get
come
your business
back.
online in minutes.
Okay, excellent. Well, you know how it go, man. You know, when you're talking about some things, they don't like you talking about. You know, it is what it is. I can't do anything about that. You know, when you get on ScrewTube, this is what happens. Unfortunately. Now, I was just about to tell Judge at 10:45 or 9:45. I think I want people to, if you get, okay, hold on. All right, Judge, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, let me bring something up. So for the next 20 minutes, I'm gonna bring up 3 topics, and then then what are we gonna do is if anybody wanna call and ask you a question about 25 minutes out, opening my little phone over here, my backup phone, and they can ask some questions. But I got this woman on the screen here, Miss Hinyard from Dalton, Illinois. That's all right. Don't
you noticed?
Don't roll the Biden show.
I know who it is. Have you noticed the similarity between her, Mayor, what you call a Dykefoot, Lightfoot?
Yes, I have.
Maxine Waters and Fannie Willis.
Yeah,
and also Stacey Abrams down in Georgia. If you notice the similarity, why is the Democratic Party picking these kind of witches to cram down our throats to run stuff? I know many fine women that are quite capable. Why do they pick this kind of group? This woman has got to be, I mean, it's like Fannie, the district attorney for a major American city, is so adamantly hell-bound on incriminating herself and all kinds of stuff that she ought to have known she should have kept her mouth shut about. You didn't invite her to serve her rights. This is the district attorney for a major American city. You got to advise this fool of her rights? Damn.
Well, look, let this clown speak right here, though. I want to hear this clown.
National headlines. You've had news outlets from all around the country writing about her, talking about her, and which is sort of rare when you are the mayor of
Trolling, rolling
of small town in Chicago. Tiffany Inyard is the mayor of Dalton, Illinois. And there have been all sorts of stories written, folks talking about what she wears, talking about her conduct, allegations about spending, you name it. There's been lots of drama, if you will. She joins us right now. I'm glad to have you here in studio. And so first off, so there are a couple of things. You're the mayor of Dalton, and then also there's a township. So explain to folks the difference between those two and what your jobs are.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you allowing me a platform to speak my truth. I'm the mayor of Dalton. I got elected in 2021, becoming the first female mayor of Dalton and the youngest. And then I got appointed to supervisor a year later. So a mayor, we are all about services. So cut trees down, sidewalks, things of that nature. Supervisor is strictly resources. So help pay your light bill, gas bill, water bill. I even help bury your loved ones. I pay mortgage, I pay rent. It's a resource center. So
So Dalton is a town about 20,000. How large is the township? Township covers what?
I cover 190,000 residents.
Okay.
I'm over 17 towns.
Okay. So and for the township, are those elected positions or appointed positions?
Yes, it's elected. My predecessor passed away and I was appointed to his seat, therefore taking the rest of his term.
Okay. And for the different jobs, so Dalton pays you what as mayor, township pays you what?
Sure. So my mayor position is $50,000, which was already there. And my township position is $224,000, which was already there. When I got sworn into either seat, it came with the salary, which everybody prior to me received.
Now, are both of those deemed full-time jobs?
Well, no, part-time.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's first deal with Dalton. So
sure.
Your critics say that you have a significant security detail. First of all, how large is your police department in Dalton?
Now, Judge, right there, that just told me something right there. She getting paid $50,000 from the mayor and $224,000. This woman only made $300,000. So where all this money going?
$274,000. Yeah. And Trolling Martin here, Trolling Roland. He's chiming in on that in support. It's part of that handkerchief head CNC cabal or group of crooks that's trying to impose this BS on the country. This woman got in
because her predecessor died, like you said.
It wasn't COVID-19 going on in those times when she got these appointments and the election. She got elected to represent 24,000 people. And then she comes in to elect more than that for this county. This is like, what's wrong with this picture? She's too damn young. She's too damn stupid. And she sounds corrupt, arrogant, narcissistic, and she's got problems. So, Missy, you're answerable to the people. Now you're going to subject them to the shortcomings of your lack of experience, your worldview, and your feeling of entitlement. Now, we get into these problems that she's having. Is Trolling Roland going to get into them, or is he going to try to cover for her? Let's see what he does.
He's trying to cover. He's covering. I mean, he just asked a question, but he's just going along with the flow.
And what is your security detail?
So we have about 45 officers in our village. My security is warranted due to the fact of threats and things of that nature. But what people are not stating is it's in our CBA. That's our collective bargaining agreement. That's our union contract. So it comes with the seat. That's what people are not saying.
How many
I didn't
of
make
them
this
are
up.
her
I didn't just
security?
create this.
45 cops. How many of them are her security? That's one of the complaints.
That's right. Well, they said they ain't got enough on the force to handle stuff that's going on in other places, right? So that's one of the complaints, yes.
To say, I want security.
How many officers is it?
How many officers is what?
On security detail.
I'm not going to say how many due to the threats on my life. So,
but if it's in your CBA.
It is in my CBA. I'm not doing anything wrong. I even went to court due to the fact of people suing me saying I can't have a security detail. And I won. The judge said I can't have a security detail because it's already in a CBA.
You.
Okay. And so That's one of the issues there. You have other trustees who suggested that the city is in a deficit. What is the state of the city's finances?
So we are in a deficit, but it's not what everybody's claiming it to be. They're going around with false allegations of 5 million, 7 million, 8 million. It's all false. Our deficit is $2 million.
$2 million.
$2 million.
And what's your annual budget?
Our annual budget is
Tell us.
She's not gonna tell you, Judge.
$30 million.
$3 million? $30 million.
Yep.
And so how did you, what led to that deficit?
So it comes from them not paying bills. So say for instance, we have a board meeting and they say, well, we're gonna pull this out, pull that out. If they continue to pull bills out, later on, what do you have? A deficit, because the bills still due. Just like us not paying our mortgage or not paying our light bill. We still owe the money at the end of the month.
When you say they, who's they?
The trustees, the board, because the board is the one that votes to pay the bills.
So you have two types of government out there. You got strong mayor, city council, then you have city manager form of government. So mayor and the trustees control the city's finances.
Well, yes, when it comes to the budget, just the budget.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So in terms of who's deciding to pay the bills, so this deficit that you have, you're saying that's a result of the trustees not paying the city's bills?
Correct.
But do you have the resources?
Yes.
To pay the bills?
Yes.
So how's there a deficit?
Because they won't pay the bills. So it's still on our books. Until we release the check and pay the bill, we still count it as a deficit.
So you're saying, so you have the money to pay the bills.
Correct.
You're saying your fellow trustees won't pay the bills.
Correct.
Why?
I give you prime example, just to make me look bad. I give you prime example. My job is to govern. That's what a mayor does. I'm an executive branch, they're the legislative branch. When I go get money and bring back to our community, many grants, they refuse to pay things for residents. I created a roof and window program. They would not.
What do you think, Judge?
I'd quit. Hell, I'm looking for another job. By the way, how much of what they won't pay has to do with the dispute they have with you, young lady, that has to do with your frivolous expenses and encumbering the city with what they don't think are legitimate bills?
Well, I'm just gonna put it like this. It's a 46-minute interview. I'm just bringing in the points. I'm gonna break down the points, paraphrase them. One of the things that in the interview she brought up that somebody made a charity in her lane, she didn't allow it, and all this other nonsense. A lot of the stuff she said absolutely made no sense. And by him just saying, going along like a roly-poly that he is, it just don't make no sense.
Well, you see what the game is. Why they got popping fresh Pillsbury Doughboy with some chocolate chips in here running the talk show on a major media event. What is this supposed to be? You buy this crap. Now, come on, you want to play the rest? I'll be quiet. It's just in life, I've had to listen to so much bullshit.
No. I'm not gonna play because it's 46. I'm just giving people a snippet of it, and you go either watch this or roll about it. People seen it. We know about it. It's just funny.
I've seen it too. It's just
it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is.
So, but Judge, this is what you have before you. Now, I mean, when I look at the aesthetics, I'm talking about the aesthetics for men that's, that thinking like us or me or whoever. I'm looking at, of course, the wig, eyelash. I look at how she presenting herself. I'm just telling you, she looks like more like a hip hop star than, a woman that, my mother or somebody used to dress like. I'm just saying. I mean, she looks more like trying to be like Cardi B.
This is who's representing the people.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not being funny, and this ain't no disrespect to anybody, but you know what? Back in the day when you went to an office and you saw a woman, a woman might have had a skirt, jacket, blouse, or whatever. I mean, outside of that Kamala Harris thing, she wore, I guess, a jacket and a skirt. They would move to Kamala Harris wearing a pantsuit. So I'm just saying that that they really done some things here. But this right here, you see her staying at the Four Seasons Hotel. You know how expensive the Four Seasons is, man. I said, dang, they really living it up. So this woman is having a good time.
You know what? if this woman tried to approach me about being in charge of something, I would have to be polite and I'd force myself not to snicker.
Hey.
And when she opened her mouth, I don't think I could maintain the facade any longer. I'd snicker, and then I'd have to call for something. Oh, and they're trying to disarm us so these scoundrels can come pull their fascist takeover. Yeah, let's get rid of the weapons so we can impose this kind of fasciste on the American public.
I forgot to tell you one thing, Judge. While I was gone over the weekend, Donald Trump was here in Richmond on Saturday, and as a matter of fact, I meant to say Nikki Haley won her first primary night in Washington, D.C. That's the only meeting that Nikki Haley won a primary in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. only got 23,000 registered Republicans. She in D.C. She gonna win that primary.
Who cares? They have no influence on the Republican convention that's going to select a president. It just shows you why they should not be a state. Now, look at this. 23,000 Republicans.
In a district.
Yeah. Now, how many Democrats? Still a small amount. Because the people that can, yeah, but the people who vote there's not that many. It's a small, medium-sized city. But you want to give this little piss hole 2 senators, just like California, New York, Texas, Florida, Miami, not Miami, New Mexico, Nevada, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, just 2 senators for each of them. But DC, with this scant amount of people, would get 2 senators. And you'd get the same number of congressmen or representatives for the House that Maine would get. So why does this little small, medium-sized city get the same clout in Congress, which Article 1 says shall consist of the House of Representatives and the Senate? Both of them are Congress. Why should they get the same representation as a whole state? Now, why? Because they represent this far left sickness, this bullshit you've been listening to. Fannie Mae, Lori Lightfoot, Stacey Abrams, and Maxine Waters, and they cram them down everybody's throat. Why? So you can get them extra influence. So they don't have very many people, but you give them the clout of the state so they can tip the Senate, tip the House, and you can get more rainbow bullshit put in effect to spread the religion, the new secular religion around the country. And we can't say anything about it because the government is imposing it. You don't have a choice. You have to follow it. You have to allow it. You have to bow and scrape to it. Bow down. You have to pay for it. That's what they're doing. By the way, that's one motive for the illegal immigrants who've all violated federal law, and technically every damn one of them is a fugitive. They've cut the line, and it's no respect to the people who paid the dues to be naturalized. They waited in line and did a lot of things to get naturalized. Now you let somebody cut up in front of the line, do nothing, and they get all of the perks and privileges with none of the hard work to become a U.S. citizen. You also, under Article 1 of the Constitution, you swell the population in an area. California, New York, Pittsburgh, Michigan, Illinois, New York, if I didn't say it, New Jersey. And that means they wind up getting extra representatives in the House. We commonly call them congressmen. So that improves the clout of the rainbow quasi-religious cult that is trying to take over the country. Now, I don't have anything against gay folk. I don't have anything about anybody exercising their rights, but just because you exercise the right doesn't mean you're right when you exercise the right. So we have a clear and present danger that is trying to destroy human nature. It's evil, it's vile, it is trying to squash manhood, womanhood, childhood. It's trying to polarize the country. It's trying to get rid of all of the salient character virtues in human history. No bravery, no honor, no courage, no shame, no guilt. Anything goes. Do what you want. To hell with the negative impact. Because you want, let's destroy everything in the process. That is a self-hating, nihilistic philosophy, and we do not need it being crammed down the throats of our children, grandchildren, nieces, and nephews. We do not need it crammed down the throats of our government. Crammed up the, pun intended, up the behinds of our government. We don't need it to be forced upon us. It's a religion, and it's held by less than 3 or 4% of the country's population, but because they control the communications industry, the entertainment industry, the news industry, and they've infiltrated the political parties, and they've captured one completely, that they are their sole slave advocates, the Democratic Party. The Republicans get crippled, and between the two of them, generating a whole lot of confusion. As a smoke screen, this new religion gets spread around the country. It is a dangerous cult. And if we followed it, it would probably lead ultimately to the downfall of all humanity. Fortunately for the planet, the Chinese, the Russians, South America, Africa, the Caribbean, other places don't buy into this bullshit. Now, I'm not getting on gay folk. Get your damn freak on in your bedroom. But leave that stuff in your bedroom. You don't need to, and you shouldn't. And we cannot allow it to be crammed down our throats. And by the way, this is a good opportunity for everybody to unify against this mess. What is it? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And every human being has an interest in protecting humanity, and these people are trying to destroy it. They are the enemies of the people, plain and simple, and people need to start speaking out on it and saying, hell no.
Well, let's talk about the enemy right quick of people with this clown, you know him very well.
Tragic events in Kansas City, President Biden is renewing calls for stricter gun control. In a statement, the president said that it's time to act and called for a ban on assault weapons and to strengthen background checks. So joining me now is CBS News Chief White House Correspondent Nancy Cordes. I mean, Nancy, it's a little, rinse and repeat. I mean, this is what I expect to hear from the president at this time. But, I look at we are in an election year, and I look at the list of topics and issues that people are most concerned about. And frankly, despite the fact that this was a mass shooting, we had a mass shooting on Super Bowl Sunday in a church. Gun violence doesn't rank very high this time around. What reaction are we getting from Capitol Hill?
Right. I mean, it tends to be one of those issues that ranks really high right when people learn of a mass shooting, and then it retreats behind other issues that are pressing on a day-to-day basis, like the economy. So it's an issue that the president certainly talks about. It's an issue he knows that is very important to his base. At the same time, you don't hear a ton about it from this White House for a very simple reason, and that is that it's highly unlikely that they can really make any headway on the issue in an election year with a Congress that is led, at least on the House side, by Republicans. They were able to make some incremental progress in the last Congress, but we are now in an election year, and back then the House and Senate were run by Democrats, and so there are some attempts at bipartisanship on this issue, but at the national level, at least, not right now. When you look at Missouri, where the shooting took place, the governor actually was involved in rolling back gun safety legislation over the past year or so. And so, it's certainly tragic, but I would say that for the past couple of decades, there's been a great deal of pessimism here in Washington. We've seen really horrific mass shootings without much action afterwards.
So true. Before I let you go, though, I do want to ask you about something else. Earlier in the show, we talked about news of the possibility of a Russian space weapon, a nuclear space weapon that Russia may be working on. What do we know about this, and what action, if any, is the White House taking?
Yeah, it really sounds like a script out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? But,
yeah.
But we are told that this is a real security concern. The intelligence that Russia is working to develop a weapon that is nuclear capable, meaning either it is nuclear powered or perhaps has a nuclear weapon attached to it that would be able to take out U.S. satellites in space. And the reason that that would be of such great concern, of course, is because it would knock out the ability to communicate for Americans, but also that it would affect the U.S. military's ability to operate effectively here on Earth. So this is something that U.S. officials tell us they've actually been monitoring for several months, that Russia launched another rocket carrying a satellite last week. And they say that it is a matter of concern, but it is not something that people should imminently panic about because Russia is still working to develop this capability and doesn't have it.
So let's bring this up.
Look, first off, an assault rifle is a machine gun.
Okay.
That's the definition. A look-alike that is no different than the semi-auto weapons that have been in the hunting fields in the hands of homes for the last 120 years is no big deal. AR does not stand for assault rifle, it stands for Armalite. That is the company that had Eugene Stoner's designs. The AR that they're calling an assault rifle was patented in 1952. That's 72 damn years ago. It ain't nothing new. My old man had one 55 years ago. I got one 55 years ago. No big deal. So everybody's had access to this. They get spooked because it looks like something in the movies. And we got a bunch of cowardly sissies that are afraid to stand up for
Hey,
themselves.
she said it like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
She said that.
Yeah, and see, this kind of crap never would have happened when they had real men in the country. And the bottom line is where are the men? Because they tried to sissify them and suppress masculinity, toxic masculinity. And if you take the guns out of the hands of the good citizens, see, crooks ain't gonna follow this stuff. And most of the serious hardware that you got to worry about comes in crates along with the kilos of the drugs that people get spooked out about that the war on drugs can't stop. So you're not going to get rid of the gun supply. You got another problem here. You get rid of the weaponry that's 70 years old in the hands of some stupid fool that has been approved in his sickness by general society. These people that you're looking at right here that put the entertainments out, the propaganda out by the Rainbow Coalition, it says it's all right to be a punk and a coward. It's all right to run. You don't need to stand up for bullies. Your mama will protect you. Somebody's supposed to do it for you. You're entitled to a safe life, which does not happen because you live on the planet Earth. So all of these cowards in mind want to get rid of the weapons to get them out of the hands of the perverts that their policies encourage and create. So you get them out of the law-abiding hands. What about the real crooks who just go around not doing mass shootings, but just stick them up, EMF, I want your money. So what do you do about them? The police, remember, we're supposed to defund the police because they're evil. And oh my God, they didn't have to run him down when he got scared and ran away from him. Well, brave the hell up, be a man, stand your damn ground, and don't run. So I understand if you're trying to get away, but I got scared. Sorry, I'm a punk. Oh my God, they scared me. I peed on myself. Well, guess what? That happens whether the cop in his off time drives a 150 Ford pickup with a Johnny Red flag on the front bumper, or he's a homeboy down brother who grew up in your hood. Yeah.
I got something to say about this.
Yeah. So anyway, you get rid of the cops, you get rid of law and order, and you got thugs holding you up, robbing you, selling drugs, poisoning your neighborhood, raping your children, raping your wife, raping your friend girls, raping your mama, raping all your female friends and relatives. You got folk burglarizing your stuff. So when you get home after a hard day's work, all your stuff is gone. And somebody busted off in your house, you want to get rid of the police, you can't go anywhere because somebody's going to go stick them up your mouth or just shoot you down right there. Do you think those guns are going to disappear and those folk are going to follow the law? Hell no. If they shot you, they don't give a damn about going to jail or the electric chair, gas chamber, or getting put to sleep while you're on the table and they shoot you up with juice. They don't give a damn. So do you think you're going to get the guns out of their hands? Hell no. But what about the good citizens? You're supposed to be helpless, hold your ass in your hand. Oh, please come help me. I'm helping somebody do this. Oh, I forgot I was trying to get rid of the police.
Well, let me bring that up. Glad you said that. You know what? Because this weekend, I had been in Baltimore since Friday. Got back today. But we went to the Baltimore Convention Center. We did a couple things. We went to a couple events. I was talking to some other DJs out there and everything. Now check this out, Judge. Baltimore trying to, I guess, get rid of concealed carry in their state. They want tighter gun laws, in the north, they want that. But you won't believe this. Every event you went to had security officers and police in there with guns on their hips and handcuffs. So how in the hell can you tell your citizens to disarm themselves, but you making sure these guys are strapped to the bone? One of the guys even worked on putting his magazine in, standing outside before he went in. So that tells me this ain't nothing but a bunch of hypocrisy.
It is. Now, the other thing, I was in Baltimore summertime last year. Did you see the zombies? The ones that are standing in the middle between lane 1 and 2 on a busy street, 3 and 4 of them, and they bent over.
Yeah, somebody come,
like
somebody come up.
They stoned.
Yeah.
Do you think they're gonna follow the law when they want to get whatever their zombie thing is? What are the good citizens supposed to do about them? There they are, standing right out in the middle of the open on a busy intersection, busy street, and ain't nobody moved them. Who's supposed to stop them from breaking the law? I see this dude's been out here for 45 minutes. People are going by at 45 miles an hour, and ain't nobody moved him. Where's the police?
Weird spot. And if you're downtown, you got that Horseshoe Casino, and you got a lot of things going on. You got a lot of action going on in areas. So when you have all that going on, it's very easy for them to stand in the middle of the free lane, but it also could get into a major accident in lanes too with all that traffic.
Exactly. So where are the police to remove these folk? There they are standing. You don't have to guess. Somebody bent over looking like he's trying to touch his toes, and he's been that way for 45 minutes, and there's a 4-foot pool of drool around his feet. Hell, why is he still standing in the middle of the street obstructing traffic and nobody is taking him off? You don't even have police to do that. Now, if you can't do that, who the hell is going to keep law and order from making the community safe? The people have to do that themselves, and now you want to disarm them. And by the way, do you think one of these zombies is going to get out there and obey the damn law?
Man, hey, look. Let me tell you something. Judge, I'm going to tell you something, man. That's going on here. It's going on in D.C. It's going on all. And I didn't think about it. But all these northern states, the northern states like Washington, D.C., New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Connecticut, Rhode Island, I think New Hampshire might not mean New Hampshire, but all these states along the Northeast corridor have some of the strictest gun laws in the country. And the South is more so what they would call more free gun laws. You don't have to have concealed carry in the South. You got to even have a concealed carry card in Virginia. Seriously,
we got constitutional carry, but the little sissy boys in Memphis want to wipe that out for the state because they've got all of the crooks here that the new mayor of Memphis says, and the chief of police say the way to stop crime is to identify the criminals and pay them not to commit crime. What kind of garbage is that? I've had a talk with the gang members. Yeah, you in an auditorium surrounded by police and they're sitting there. You aren't going one-on-one and dealing with them. See, they don't know what the hell to do. Where do they get the guns? Hell, our new chief, and this bunch of clowns right here, they are sold out to the right wing. The right wing did them a favor by giving them street cred, the Justin boys, and now they got credibility. So one of them gets $1.5 million inside of 30 days from the elements around the country. The other one's from San Francisco. He's half Filipino, half black. He's supposed to be gay. That's his damn business. He's
right here, Judge. He's right here, Judge.
What's this? Tennessee joining Alabama with radical GOP.
Carrying flags with swastikas. While those modern-day Hitler fans were marching in the streets, Tennessee House Republicans were passing laws that ban different flags. On Monday, they approved a bill that would ban ideological flags in schools, including pride flags and Black Lives Matter flags.
God damn it.
It will not surprise you that the bill does not, I repeat, does not explicitly prohibit the display of the Nazi or the Confederate flag in schools.
Yeah, but who the hell
is
displaying the goddamn
Republicans have
Nazi
also
flag
advanced a
off in
bill
a
that would
public
make
school?
street protests a felony. Democrats pointed out state.
There you Judge.
Well, Joy,
you talking
the
about
former Confederacy continues to be a birthplace of bad
right
ideas.
here is a sellout, and he's a danger, and he's talking goddamn garbage. And they threw his ass out and let his ass back in so he could get street cred. Now they own his ass so he can slip in every goddamn thing for all of the far right businessmen he's downing and get paid for it under the table.
Yeah,
now, other damn thing is screw that crap. See what they did is there was a tranny that went off in the state legislature, not the state legislature, in Nashville to a private school. And he shot the place up because he was mad that they encouraged him to be a tranny. So he decided he wanted to be a man again. But they'd messed him up, so he goes in there to pay him back. They tried to keep that quiet. So this tranny shoots down 9 people or 6 people or whatever in the hell he does and kills them. They gun him down and kill him. And then these 11,000, and these 11,000 little vanilla cupcakes in private schools decide they're going to go visit a children's hospital and then march to the state capitol. And this little sissified boy helps them walk off into the state legislature and tear the damn place up. So they suspend him, let him go, and then they put him right back in. Now, his other Justin is replacing a woman that's been not this Justin, the other one. Yeah, this is a Filipino from California, from San Francisco.
Yeah.
The other Justin from Memphis replaced Dr. Barbara Cooper. I'd known Barbara Cooper since 1974. Became a friend, a mentor too. She was the oldest sitting legislator in Tennessee, 94. She slipped and fell, hurt her hip, and wound up getting a blood clot that caused her ultimately to die. She was great. she always got elected. Now, when he ran to get an election, the other Justin, to replace her, she was still on the ballot. She got 34,000 votes as a dead candidate. Now, when they had a special election to select somebody, he got 1,600 votes, not 34,000. So there was an extremely low turnout. And then they had another special election to put him back in after he got ejected. He got 1,400 votes. Hell, that's not much. So he comes back in with this kind of mandate, and now they have a legislative act that is on the table that will probably pass that says if you are once ejected, you can't come back. I don't care who selects you and come back in. That's not necessarily anti the Tennessee state constitution. Certainly doesn't have much to do with the U.S. Constitution. So now the far left bunch in Memphis, which is the only part of the state that's not firmly red, and they're trying to taint the rest of the state to be slightly tinged with purple. These clowns want to go up there and they want to get rid of constitutional carry. They want to get rid of the, like what the hell? The police can have 15, 17 round magazines in their pistol. Why can't the civilians? They want to get rid of the magazines. They want to get rid of the evil assault rifles or something that looks like.
They also want to bring more immigrants there too.
Yeah, and Memphis right now, the black chief of police, the black mayor, the last white mayor of the Pillsbury Doughboy, and the black sheriff want to turn Memphis into a sanctuary city. Meanwhile, they're trying to set up a place called Blue Oval where Ford is supposed to put an electric car factory, but Blue Oval actually is a South Korean company, an electronics firm, and they've already hired several thousand people out on the West Coast and Korea who are Koreans to bring them into the Memphis area, well, outside of Memphis, to operate Blue Oval. And all of them are trying to steal and arrange stuff where under the table they can get money. It's crooked. A lot of them need to be in the penitentiary. So
well, let me play this. Because this happened right here in Virginia last week at the Capitol. So we got a lieutenant governor here in Winston Sears. She's actually Jamaican, but I met her one time at a place I frequent. So last week we got a training in the Virginia Legislative Caucus or whatever you want to call it, and Winston Sears called the training sir, and they proceeded to go to recess twice and wouldn't come back until she apologized. Then they say you didn't apologize good enough because you misgendered the tranny or some crazy mess.
Say, screw you. Take your tacky, weird ass the hell out of here. You got a dick or did you cut it off? So, okay, the full female. Otherwise, you got a dick, your ass is a male, and you are a sir. That's being polite or whatever. You sick? You hate yourself so damn bad, you want to convert. Damn, ain't that something? You need mental health treatment.
Senator may state it.
Madam President, how many votes would it take to pass this bill with the emergency clause?
That would be 4/5, Senator.
And what would be the exact number for that, Madam President?
Yes, sir. That would be 32. The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no.
I said something that upset Senator Rome. Let it be known, I am not here to upset anyone. I am here to do the job that the people of Virginia have called me to do, and that is to treat everyone with respect and dignity. I myself have at times not been afforded that same respect and dignity.
The senator may state it.
Madam President, how many votes would it take to pass this bill with the emergency clause?
That would be 4/5, Senator.
And what would be the exact number for that, Madam President?
Yes, sir. That would be 32. The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will.
So when she said, sir, that caused them to go out and go to recess. And then they say, you're not really apologizing. You saying you trying to treat everybody, but you're not apologizing.
I want to be polite, I'd say F you, F them. You know, like you supposed to change your habits of mannerability, courtesy, lifetime habit to meet the needs of some screwed up, mentally ill specimen who needs to be treated. You damn freak. Go save that crap for being on stage in a nightclub for ladies' night when you get the ones dressed up like girls and sitting there doing Flip Wilson nonsense.
Well,
and you know, it's like, excuse me, go on, hold the vote. And they say, I ain't apologizing. Screw you. You got a dick? You a sir, because you ain't a woman. She can say, I'm a woman. I got to go through and have menstrual cycles, have birth pains after being sick for 9 months, being a pregnant mama. I got to go rush home to take care of the children. I got to go do all of this. You don't, you can't. So screw you. You ain't one of us. Just like getting some punk coming up here talking about he's a swish and he wants to be treated as a man, or some weird female decides she's going to transition to being a man. No, you don't belong up in this club. Don't try to come up here and call yourself a sir and you a ma'am, because you can't whip ass like we can. Wow. Oh, no, you can't. How come you get all these trannies coming in masquerading as girls? They're failed boys who can't make it as a boy, so they got to put on a sports bra and play girl, and they whipping up on you. Don't try to come up in here and whip up on some real men, because you can't do it. You ain't part of the club, so go sit down. See, that's what she's saying. She's a woman. She's got dues to pay. This clown can't pay them, can't do what she can do, even hypothetically or theoretically. That ain't no woman. See, being a woman and a man, that's just not labels. That's a title you have to earn. Most societies have a rite of passage before you're entitled to be called man or woman.
Well, let me say this, Judge, in closing, you know, this society getting crazy, and just throw some things out there you think could man up these people. And some of these women got to, I ain't gonna say woman up, because they do some of them. There's a lot of women out here I've been meeting that doing the best they can, but it's a lot of this topic with this transgender movement and all this other stuff. It is screwing the heads and hearts and minds of a lot of people, man, at once.
Well, let me say one thing about that. Let's supposing that we get equality in employment. Women and men for the jobs where it doesn't require physical strength, let's say, all are doing the same job. They should get paid the same. So an employer says, we hire 50% women, 50% men. And then you find out half the women got swinging dicks still. They're just boys who call themselves women and put on bras so they can get the job. So now that means out of 100 people, only 25 of them are women, and 25 of them are still male. What happened to the women's cause? It got screwed. See, there are all kinds of inequities in that. And I don't care. He's compelled to do it. Well, some rapists and murderers, homicidal maniacs, and some sexual predators, they're compelled to do it. But we can't let them get away with rape. We can't let them get away with murder. So some compulsions you are compelled to restrain. You can't say, I'm a homicidal maniac and I like to kill people, so I want to kill people. You need to let me kill people. Or you see how that works? It's like, I want to be a girl. See, you're a cop out, damn it, because there's some responsibilities that go along with being a man, and you're trying to escape those responsibilities. and you want to be treated as a woman, but you can't do what women can do, at least theoretically. You can't give birth, and you can't nurse, and you can't nurture, and you aren't attractive, and you still got a dick, and you still are a wasted resource, because what the bottom line is what you have on your masculine side, you ought to emphasize, because world society, national society, your community society needs. And you're a goddamn draft dodger, not from the military, but you got drafted by Mother Nature to be something, and you're trying to escape it and be something else. It's a punk move.
You're right. It's a punk move. Well, Judge, I'm
so
gonna say
man
something.
up and do what you got to do.
So I'm gonna ask you a question.
Accept your responsibilities. Go ahead.
So I just want to bring one more like an answer. So I know, like I always say, you still got your barbecue sauce. I just want you want to shout it out. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that for men and women. If you want to be a freak like him, go ahead too. I don't mind. I'm non-discriminatory. You can be what you want. Just cook it and eat it in your bedroom if you want to get your freak on. JJB, Judge Joe Brown, BBQ, barbecue products, jjbbbq.com. You can go online and get some. You can go to Amazon and order it. And if you're a prime Amazon customer, there's no shipping fee. It's good stuff. Best you've ever had. It'll eclipse anything else you've tasted unless you are an expert and you can make it at home. Probably will beat that. I've been working on the stuff for 40 years. We brought in Beyonce's personal chef, Chef Damon, and he refined it so you can buy it in Whole Foods or Sprouts, and it's good for you. It won't kill you like the old time stuff with all the grease and all that in it. Tastes the same. We've got Tiffany Haddish as a major investor, a number of other black folk. The meat packing plant that puts the chicken links hot, mild, smoked, and raw, the beef links hot, mild, smoked, and raw, the Beyond Meat links hot and mild. She's a sister, as she happens to be the only USDA certified black meat packing plant in California, and they operate out of Compton. We've got a sister that is affiliated. She owns a distillery. And the whiskey, the bourbon, is as good as Jack, Blanton's, Booker's, Bulliett, Knob Creek, Maker's Mark. It's good stuff. I like it. It's real smooth. It's her grandfather's recipe from Mississippi. He was a moonshiner. We have a lot that we're doing. We're trying to promote Black enterprise. So check it out. You'll like it. And if you were in Los Angeles on 79th and Western, down in the hood, not far from where I grew up, walking distance actually, you will find Dee's Original Takeout Grill on the corner of 79th and Western. It is the northeast corner, catty corner across from a big church. Go in there and get yourself some, and you can get the finished product where the sauce and the seasonings are used. And we have the dry powdered seasoning too, and we have recipes that you can get a hold of. jjbbbq.com, or look for Judge Joe Brown's barbecue products on Amazon, and you can order it that way. It's on the shelves in places in Southern California. It's spreading back east, and we have agreements with Sprouts, Whole Foods, and a lot of stuff in the southeast of the country. Check it out. Summer coming up. Learn to use it and impress your friends and associates with how you can do cute. It is a great art. the art of barbecue. So
Well,
anyway.
I just want to say this. You got a show, you can shout out,
Oh, I'm going to do that. I was getting ready for the comments. You're always so good with that. But I do a show Monday and Thursday, Man Up Show on Thursday with the Real Dana. She does other productions during the week. It's called The Real Dana. Check her out. On Tuesday, she and I do an X Space. That's the old Twitter. Usually lasts 3 hours or so. That'll be in the afternoon, evenings on Tuesday. And on Friday with Valerie Denise, beautiful young lady who is very impressive. She's the producer and director of the Judge Joe Brown radio show. It's a call-in number. You call in, it's recorded. It goes out syndicated after she chops it up on iHeartRadio. It gets to London, Sydney, South Africa, Berlin. There are a lot of places in the world that get it. It's the Judge Joe Brown show. You can call in. The call-in number is area code 929-477-1167. 929-477-1167. 929-477-1167. And if you want to get into K, press 1. And we are on for 2 hours. You can call in, and if you're on before the second hour ends, you can stay on for another hour where we have a free-for-all that Valerie calls the Hunger Games. You've been on, I think, a time or 2 or 3.
I have no more than that.
4, 5, 10, 15.
But the only comment I got to make is you laid out a lot of points and good information. And I would say this, it's a lot of things, like I said, going on. Like I say, when you're out traveling, things like that, you meet a lot of people. I think there's a lot of weird people out here right now, but it is what it is. We just gotta just do what we gotta do. Now I'm gonna say this, that since we got an election, like I told you, Donald Trump was here yesterday. Super Tuesday is gonna be Tuesday, actually, whatever. So all this is coming down the pike. Now I want to say one thing before I go. A lot of people are not talking about that. See, Biden, because I'm just gonna bring in something in closing. The other day, they sent Charlemagne on George Stephanopoulos' show. But Biden, there was a primary in Michigan where Biden got 79%, but 15% of people was uncommitted. Most of them were Muslim. Did you realize that Joe Biden did not tell the Muslim Arab American community that you're not Muslim if you don't vote for me? Did you realize
I ain't voting for his dumb, incompetent ass, his jackass ass. And I'll be goddamn, I'm black. So screw you, fool. You and your little hyena
they're bringing Charlemagne back out there. They're gonna probably bring Joe Biden back on the Breakfast Club soon. They got to try to get him some clout.
Yeah, and they're going to have a bunch of Negro buffoons dancing in a line dance out front of a polling place. So they're going to have another take your booties to the poll. And they had a third of the individuals on that commercial weren't even women. They were trannies. So guys, black men are supposed to be dumb enough and not embarrassed enough to say hell no and go out and go vote for something because they put some strippers doing a thing on a poll, which is supposed to get us to go out and vote. That is an insult. You low down scumbag scoundrels trying to sit there and appeal to me that's supposed to make me go vote, or to you that's supposed to make you go vote, or my friends are supposed to go vote because you put that filthy mess out there. This is not P Valley, goddammit. This is reality. So be real. Punish these fools. Look at Kamala Harris. Look at Fannie Willis. look at Stacey Abrams, look at Lori Lightfoot, look at this woman, this young witch
Lord
here that's
Lightfoot
the
got a
mayor
job in
up there.
Harvard.
Yeah, I know. Gee, wow, what are her academic credentials? Or did you just get one of these showpiece buck dancing Negroes on a thin silver chain as they caper around while the old time organ grinder is turning that thing on a pole? They used to actually have, you know, so it's bad enough. Right now, the bubble is about to burst.
It
We
is.
are about to run out of the window of opportunity
They
to
just
get
said
something
it.
done. Yeah, and we're
They just said
wasting
in
it.
Chicago this summer they're expecting protests at the Democratic
Yeah, and
National Convention.
we're wasting this time on this garbage. This sister's trying to run business, and we got all the attention snatched from righteous business to one of the acolytes and adherents of this cult that is trying to take over America. You saw it.
And it's only one. It's only one of them that's being elected in the Virginia caucus. And that one, they stopped the whole damn meeting.
Why? Because they're scared of it. Because a lot of them are maybe that way in secret. They like to put on pink panties and they still got a dick. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, this woman elected 6 years ago.
It's their business, but we don't need to have to suffer for it.
Yeah, they
Do
told
it
her
in
you
your
didn't
bedroom. Get your
apologize
freak
good
on.
enough. You didn't. Look here. Hey, look. She's sorry. Who needs? You don't need your damn apology. Hell with that.
Excuse. Also, you know what? I'm waiting for somebody to do. I said, at my age, you know, I don't know this person. I see his name down here, and he's supposed to have a man's apparatus. So, out of respect for all of the men that I'm acquainted with, I use sir. I'm not going to disrupt my patterns of respect just for him. I'm sorry I hurt his feelings, but I'm not sorry.
Yeah, what it is. Well, I thought, hey, look, I'm glad it happened. Shoot, somebody need to get mad. But look, I'm sick and tired of this bullshit, my damn self. But I'm gonna just say this, Judge. I thank you for coming on, dropping knowledge, like you always do. I'm back up, like my man Caden Smith said right here. We need the truth instead of feelings. You're exactly right.
Well, bleep out my profanities. You know, I mean, the subject at hand gets me angry because it's such a cop out. You know, it's like, see, I'm mad because I listen to people, especially the woke folk. They have been so propagandized as the target for this evil, vile propaganda that without realizing it, they show it by using the language, the terminology, the concept, and the thought patterns of the people that have been trying to propagandize them. So I was taught when I took propaganda at UCLA for a year, part of this political science major I have, spent more than a half century ago. But they said you can tell when your propaganda is effective when your targets start using your language, your descriptions, and thinking of themselves the way you want them to think of themselves. You've been a success in what you've been trying to do. And I see that.
Well, you're exactly right. And they've been using a whole lot of propaganda, and more will come in the next couple of months. Don't worry, this is about to get really, really bad. But with that being said, Judge, I'm gonna give me some rest since I've been out all weekend. But I'm gonna try to get you back on maybe a week and a half.
Yeah, no problem.
Super Tuesday, of course, because we gotta break some things down that's going on. You know, Shopton, he going in and talking bad about you and all that other type of stuff. So you know, anyway.
Yeah, I don't have anything against gay people, but I got a big problem with this cult. I had a big problem with Jim Jones and drinking Kool-Aid at large church picnics in Guyana, but I ain't got nothing against Christians. I don't like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, but I certainly don't have anything against Islam. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, ain't nothing personal. Do what you do. But this cult,
You're right.
I don't think it's right. We don't need to embrace this and teach this in our schools. And this person talking about Nazis, a swastika in a school, in 50 years since I've been paying attention, I've never heard of anybody talking about a swastika being displayed in a public school. So that's just BS. What if they displayed a swastika? Well, they haven't, but they've been cramming that symbol down our throats. You can't put a Christian cross under an American flag on a government building. You can't put the crescent and the star there. You can't put the six-pointed Hebrew star. You can't put the six-armed Hindu god on there. You can't put an image of Buddha under the American flag, but you can put the rainbow flag. You can't fly a Johnny Reb flag under it anymore for those of that persuasion. And I don't have a problem with somebody flying Johnny Reb. I don't buy into it just to pose it and talk about them, you know, but that's their business. It's called First Amendment. You can't put up a whole lot of things under an American flag, but you can put the rainbow there. You can't put a nativity scene in a city hall or a government building, but you can put in the rainbow flag. You can't put cross and crescent. I mean, you can't put the crescent and the star up in a courthouse, but you can put the rainbow up. They don't fly the symbols of these other religions at the White House, but they put the rainbow up. What is that?
Hey, it's indoctrination at its finest. And sooner or later, we're about to get into the night of the long knives. Sooner or later, where this thing going. So,
by the way, they do provide this cult something around which all Americans can get a form of unity. You know, the enemy of my enemy is my. And the bottom line is, these people are enemies of all of humanity. We can all come together in opposition of this sickness that is spreading. And also, since inside of 15 years, more likely 10, there will no longer be a majority race or ethnic group in America. It's time for all of us to come together and start opposing a threat to humanity.
You know what's so crazy? You know how they do these little polls on all these shows, and they tell you that over half of the country is open to LGBTQ rights. They not interviewing that many people to ask the question, because if they were, they would get a situation. The majority of the population would relish that, and I'll probably ask them probably like maybe 800 people out of the little poll they got, and I guarantee you half of them probably Gen Zers, as they would call it.
Yeah. Have you run into anybody at a bar, pub, club, on the streets who's for that stuff? Maybe every now and then, but what are they talking about? It just doesn't happen.
I'm gonna be real honest with you. I told you I was in Baltimore. I was out last night. My buddy did see one, tall one, about 6'8". Everybody just walked the other way. Ain't nobody hanging around. Shoot, what you hanging around for? So, I mean, that would tell you that if nobody's hanging around. Now, I did see, unfortunately, you know, like I said, some of the college students from, I think, Morgan State in Virginia. Morgan. One of them, they had like a guy that was dressed like a woman and all that, but it's one, and he was hanging with women. I ain't seen no guys around him. And look.
Yeah, but you know what it is? All of the need we have for black men who to be strong, and these punks are copping out and abdicating their responsibility. The Chinese are about to get in our behinds. The Russians are about to get in our behind. Everybody, you know, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, et cetera, South Africa, they're setting up an opposition to the American dollar.
Yep.
And we're spending money on people. Yeah, Nigeria will soon be the 4th largest country in the world. And it, by the way, most people don't realize this, is the largest oil producing country in OPEC. not Saudi Arabia. So you've got all of these people that you are turning against you. And see, in Ukraine, if you listen to the Russian side, here's what they're doing. They're protecting the world from the spread of this new cult, LGBTQIA plus with the rainbow. They're protecting the world from the spread of that. They're protecting the world from the resurgence of Nazism or fascism. They are protecting the world from the rampant sexual slavery and exploitation in Ukraine, that they're using the African descendants whose grandparents, great-grandparents got brought over in the beginning of the 50s as guests of Joe Stalin. And they are there at the request of a large number of Ukrainians who want to be back with Russia, the old Russian Empire they were part of, and the Soviet Union they were part of. So they're not there without cause, and we get there. What are we doing? It looks like you're trying to get Joe Biden and Hunter Biden dismissed from the 100-some page organized crime indictment that exists against them. And then you have Article 6 of the Constitution that says ratified treaties are part of the same law, supreme law of the land with the Constitution, etc. And there's a ratified treaty from 1999 negotiated by Bill Clinton, and it says the Ukraine and the United States agree to apprehend, detain, and extradite those parties wanted through formal criminal process or the other. And Joe and Hunter Biden are subjects of a 100-some page organized crime indictment that was published by the Ukraine Supreme Court in October 2020. So as soon as he gets out of the White House, he's subject to getting snatched and brought back, but probably they will try and wheedle out of that. And somebody will lean on him about don't expect any more aid because we know that he's likely to get stuck on a wall with his senile ass and tell all the secrets, if he remembers any.
Well, yep. Well, that's great. So, Judge, I'm gonna say good night to you. I want you to, keep on bringing it like it is. You be posting some interesting stuff on X. As a matter of fact, like X is Judge Joe Brown TV, and he posts a lot of interesting stuff on there as well. So, I'm gonna say my salutation for now. You take your time when you come back on. It's been a great show, actually. You might have messed up the time, but you was on time with the information. So that's what I want. So I'm not worried about it. It is what it is.
I was working with somebody that was up echelon student with one of my late brothers, Master Clifford Stewart of Los Angeles, Dr. Clifford Stewart, who was one of the 3 Pendeckers in the whole world for Pinat Silat. He was a Kung Fu grandmaster. He had 14 black belts in karate, 10th Dan in 9 of them, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, black belt in judo. He had his own discipline called Within Arm's Reach. He taught to military folks, special ops types. And I think he had about 5 people on Navy SEAL Team 6 on the Bin Laden mission that were his students. So we were working on a thing to promote training in firearms as part of the martial arts discipline. And we were setting up something to... There are a lot of sisters that need these things, a lot of brothers too that need to be upgraded. And by the way, before somebody gets to talking about the NRA as racist, go look at a gun magazine these days, Guns and Ammo Shooting Times, Handgunner, Concealed Carry, the NRA magazine, and you'll see a lot of black folk advertising for the gun companies or a sister advertising for them. So that is remarkable that the firearms industry has embraced black shooters.
Well,
Interesting world.
Well, that's interesting. So when you come back on, we're gonna discuss Super Tuesday and its effects.
Well, you know what's going to happen is going to be Biden and Trump. Those are going to be the victors.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody else coming out of there. That's just pro forma. The Democratic Party banned debates, so none of those occurred. That was a shoe-in for Biden because he's liable to fumble so bad if he doesn't fall off the podium someplace. They're probably not going to debate Trump. And Trump didn't show up for the circus that was, guess what that Republican stuff was? It wasn't a legitimate campaign for somebody to be the presidential candidate of the Republican Party. It was an audition for vice president.
That's what it was. So you're right, but
and by the way, one other thing, I have to bring this to everybody's attention. Everybody talks about you need a third party. We have some off-brand third parties, libertarians and stuff like that, but they're kind of on the crank side. No disrespect meant. But what you're looking at is there is a new spin-off party, MAGA, M-A-G-A, Make America Great Again, that is separating itself from the Republican Party, and it's not really Republican because it's more middle of the road, ordinary Americans, black and white, brown, red, yellow, who can come together as ordinary people, victimized by what the Democratic Party has done for the cult and the Republican Party has done in the name of big money, which has deprived ordinary Americans of an equality of governmental benefits. And the Democratic Party has compounded what they did by making a significant number of the American citizens dependent upon handouts. Not saying the wealthy don't get government handouts, but they can survive on their own. They just get richer with the government handouts. But they, on the other side, have been doing a thing where they get Americans made totally dependent, where they're not able to support themselves in any form, shape, or fashion. Now, that said, we need to be careful with this and we need to stop it. It's not a matter of lesser of two evils anymore. It's just somebody who is presumed so thoroughly that they have the minority vote that they can do anything they want and tell the people in the minorities that are voting for them to go get screwed, that they need to be punished. Meanwhile, those minorities, mostly black, have been so stuck on the Democratic Party plantation that no matter what the Republican Party comes up with, they're not going to get the vote generally. So neither party has an incentive to do anything for us. That's dumb politics. And nobody but us plays that like we're somebody's pet dog working on getting the benefits of $19 a month to the Save a Negro Fund.
Well, that's a good information. Well,
I'm sorry for holding.
No, you're fine.
Off.
You're fine. You're fine. I just want to say that's great information, and people do need to know that. And you're right that we have been acting like a pet, but I don't think a lot of people be acting like a pet no more. So with that being said,
thank you.
Until next time, take your time, stay well, and keep on pushing. Take your time, bro. Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.